Los Angeles, 1947. The city was a sprawling metropolis, a beacon of hope and opportunity for many. It was a place where dreams were made, but also where nightmares were born. The post-war boom had brought prosperity, but it also cast long, dark shadows. The city of dreams, bathed in sunshine and shadowed by vice. Hollywood's glitz and glamour masked a darker underbelly, where crime and corruption festered. The nightlife was vibrant, yet it hid secrets in its shadowy corners. The streets were alive with the hustle and bustle of people chasing their dreams, but not all dreams had happy endings. But even this city, accustomed to the darkness lurking beneath its glamour, was unprepared for the horror that would soon unfold. The residents of Los Angeles were used to scandal and intrigue, but what they were about to discover would haunt them for years to come. On a bleak January morning, the city would shudder at the sight that awaited. The fog hung low, casting an eerie pall over the streets. It was on this morning that a passerby made a gruesome discovery that would send shockwaves through the community. A young woman's body, severed at the waist, lay discarded in a vacant lot. The scene was horrific, the brutality of the crime evident in the way her body was left. The police were called, and soon the area was swarming with officers and reporters, all trying to make sense of the macabre scene before them. Her name, whispered on the lips of every Angelino, was Elizabeth Short. She was a young woman with dreams of making it big in Hollywood, but her life was cut tragically short. As news of the crime spread, the city was gripped by fear and fascination. Who could have committed such a heinous act? But soon, the world would know her as the Black Dahlia. The media frenzy that followed turned her into a symbol of the dark side of Hollywood. Her story became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers that lurked beneath the surface of the city of dreams. The mystery of her death would captivate the public and remain unsolved, a haunting reminder of the city's darkest hour. Elizabeth Short, a small-town girl with big dreams, journeyed to Hollywood seeking fame and fortune. Her heart, filled with aspirations of becoming a starlet, led her down the glittering yet treacherous path of the silver screen. She was a captivating presence, with her porcelain skin, jet-black hair, and a smile that could light up a room. But fate, it seemed, had other plans for Elizabeth. The discovery of Elizabeth's mutilated body sent shockwaves through the city. The brutality of the crime, the chilling precision of the cuts, painted a picture of a killer both cold and calculating. Newspaper headlines screamed of the gruesome details, igniting a firestorm of fear and speculation. Who was this monster hiding in their midst, preying on innocent dreams? The LAPD launched a full-scale investigation determined to bring the perpetrator to justice. Detectives worked tirelessly, following a trail of cryptic clues and dead ends. The pressure mounted with each passing day as the city held its breath, desperate for answers. The investigation would delve into the darkest corners of Hollywood, exposing the underbelly of glamour and the secrets it concealed. As the investigation unfolded, a cast of characters emerged from the shadows, each with their own secrets and stories that added layers of complexity to the case. The detectives, with their trench coats and fedoras, meticulously pieced together clues, hoping to unravel the mystery that had gripped the city. The air was thick with tension, and every new piece of evidence seemed to lead them down a darker path. Elizabeth Short, known to many as the Black Dahlia, was at the center of this web. Her life, though tragically cut short, was filled with dreams of stardom and a desire to escape the mundane. Friends described her as vivacious and full of life, yet there was an air of mystery about her that intrigued and puzzled those who knew her. There was George Hodel, a prominent doctor with a dark side, whose intelligence was matched only by his disturbing proclivities. Hodel was a man of many talents, but his fascination with the macabre and his questionable ethics made him a prime suspect. His connections to the art world and the underbelly of society painted a picture of a man who thrived in the shadows. His intelligence matched only by his disturbing proclivities. Hodel's medical expertise and his access to surgical tools made him a person of interest. The detectives couldn't ignore the eerie similarities between his professional skills and the precision of the crime. His enigmatic personality and his ability to manipulate those around him added to the suspicion. And then there was Leslie Dillon, a former mortician whose knowledge of the human anatomy eerily aligned with the precision of the crime. Dillon's background in mortuary science gave him an unsettling familiarity with death. His calm demeanor and his ability to handle the macabre with ease made him another key figure in the investigation. His knowledge of the human anatomy eerily aligning with the precision of the crime. Dylan's past was filled with dark tales and whispers of his involvement in other unsolved cases. The detectives couldn't shake the feeling that he knew more than he was letting on. His interactions with Elizabeth Short, though seemingly innocent, were scrutinized for any hidden motives. But were these men truly capable of such monstrous acts? The city was rife with rumors, and the media frenzy only added to the chaos. Each suspect had their own alibis and stories, but the detectives knew that someone was hiding the truth. The shadows of suspicion loomed large, and the quest for justice for Elizabeth Short became a race against time. The investigation was far from over, and the answers lay buried deep within the darkness of human nature. Whispers in the dark. Theories swirled like dust devils in the California wind. Some whispered of a scorned lover driven to madness by jealousy. Others pointed to the mob, their ruthless grip on the city an open secret. The name of the Zodiac Killer, a phantom who terrorized California years later, was even thrown into the mix, his own cryptic messages seeming to echo the Black Dahlia's unsolved murder. The Black Dahlia's legacy. Despite the relentless efforts of the police and the passage of time, the Black Dahlia case remains unsolved. The identity of the killer, lost to the annals of history, continues to haunt the city of Los Angeles. Elizabeth Short, forever young, forever frozen in time, became an enduring symbol of Hollywood's dark side, a cautionary tale whispered in the shadows of the Dream Factory. Unsolved and unforgotten. The Black Dahlia's murder serves as a chilling reminder that some mysteries may never be solved. It forces us to confront the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface, the evil that can touch even the most promising of lives, but it also reminds us of the importance of seeking justice, of never forgetting the victims, and of striving to understand the complexities of the human condition. Beyond the headlines. When we think of the 1940s, we often picture a world in black and white, a time of war and recovery. But beyond the headlines of global conflict and political upheaval, there were stories that gripped the public's imagination in a different way. Stories of mystery, intrigue, and unsolved crimes that have continued to captivate us to this day. The Black Dahlia case is just one of many unsolved mysteries that continue to captivate and intrigue. In 1947, the brutal murder of Elizabeth Short, known posthumously as the Black Dahlia, shocked the nation. Her case remains one of the most famous unsolved murders in American history. The gruesome details and the lack of resolution have kept this case in the public eye for decades, inspiring countless books, movies, and theories. If you found this story compelling, I invite you to delve deeper into the world of true crime. The 1940s were a time when true crime stories began to gain significant traction, with magazines and books dedicated to recounting these dark tales. Libraries and archives are treasure troves of information, waiting for curious minds to uncover the secrets of the past. From the comfort of your home, you can explore these stories and perhaps find new insights that have eluded investigators for years. Explore the cases that have baffled investigators for decades, from the mysterious disappearance of individuals to the perplexing motives behind heinous crimes. Each file, each document, holds a piece of the puzzle. The dedication and hard work of detectives, both past and present, are evident in the meticulous records they kept. These archives are not just collections of paper, they are the living history of human curiosity and the relentless pursuit of justice. Unravel the tangled webs of evidence where every clue, no matter how small, could be the key to solving the mystery. The process of collecting and analyzing evidence has evolved over the years, but the fundamental principles remain the same. It's a meticulous and often painstaking process, requiring patience, attention to detail, and a keen analytical mind. Imagine yourself in the shoes of a detective, piecing together fragments of information to form a coherent picture, and draw your own conclusions. True crime invites us to become armchair detectives, to question, to hypothesize, and to seek out the truth. It's a journey that challenges our perceptions and tests our critical thinking skills. As you immerse yourself in these stories, you'll find that the line between fact and fiction often blurs, and the truth can be stranger than any fiction. Remember, every victim has a story. Behind every case is a person, a life cut short, and a family left searching for answers. These stories are not just about the crimes, they are about the people who were affected by them. They remind us of the fragility of life and the importance of seeking justice for those who can no longer speak for themselves. Every case, a puzzle waiting to be solved. The world of true crime is vast and complex, filled with stories that challenge our understanding of human nature. As you explore these cases, you'll find that each one is a piece of a larger puzzle, a puzzle that continues to intrigue and fascinate us. So take a step beyond the headlines and dive into the mysteries that have stood the test of time. Germany lay in ruins after the First World War. The conflict had left the country devastated, with its cities reduced to rubble and its infrastructure in shambles. The war had not only taken a toll on the physical landscape, but also on the spirit of the German people. The once vibrant and industrious nation found itself grappling with the harsh realities of defeat and destruction. The once proud nation was defeated and humiliated. German soldiers returned home, not as heroes, but as symbols of a lost cause. The civilian population, too, bore the weight of this collective shame. The streets were filled with despondent faces, each one a testament to the deep sense of loss and disillusionment that had gripped the country. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed harsh penalties on Germany. The terms of the treaty were severe, stripping Germany of its territories, limiting its military capabilities, and demanding exorbitant reparations. The treaty was seen as a diktat, a forced agreement that left Germany with little room for negotiation or reprieve. It blamed Germany for the war and demanded crippling reparations. These reparations were not just financial burdens, they were a constant reminder of Germany's defeat and the humiliation that came with it. The headlines in the newspapers screamed of the heavy toll that the treaty would take on the nation's economy and its future. These reparations crippled the German economy. The financial strain was immense, leading to widespread poverty and hardship. Store shelves were often empty, and basic necessities became luxuries that few could afford. The economic landscape was bleak, with no immediate relief in sight. Millions were unemployed, and inflation spiraled out of control. The job market collapsed, leaving countless individuals without work. Inflation soared to unprecedented levels, rendering the German mark almost worthless. People found themselves in long lines waiting for any opportunity to earn a living, but jobs were scarce. People struggled to afford basic necessities. The cost of living skyrocketed, and families found it increasingly difficult to put food on the table. Bread, a staple of the German diet, became a symbol of the economic struggle, with prices fluctuating wildly and often beyond the reach of ordinary citizens. The social fabric of Germany was also in tatters. Homelessness became rampant, and many lived in dilapidated housing conditions. The sense of community and solidarity that had once defined German society was eroding, replaced by a pervasive sense of despair and hopelessness. Returning soldiers faced unemployment and trauma. These men, who had once fought bravely for their country, now found themselves begging on the streets. The psychological scars of war were deep, and the lack of support and recognition only compounded their suffering. The loss of life and the devastation of war left deep scars on the nation's psyche. War memorials dotted the landscape, each one a somber reminder of the lives lost. Families grieved for their loved ones, and the collective mourning became a part of the national consciousness. There was a widespread sense of anger, resentment, and betrayal. The German people felt betrayed by their leaders and the international community. Protests erupted, and the streets were filled with angry crowds demanding justice and retribution. Many Germans refused to accept responsibility for the war. They believed that the Treaty of Versailles was a gross injustice, an unfair punishment that did not reflect the true causes of the conflict. Anti-treaty demonstrations became a common sight, with people voicing their dissent loudly and passionately. They felt that the Treaty of Versailles was unjust and humiliating. Public speeches and protest signs echoed this sentiment, calling for a revision of the treaty's terms. The sense of national humiliation was palpable, and it fueled a growing desire for change and redemption. This atmosphere of despair and resentment created a fertile ground for extremist ideologies. Radical groups began to gain traction, offering simple solutions to complex problems. Political graffiti and extremist rallies became increasingly common, reflecting the volatile and polarized nature of the times. People were desperate for change and willing to listen to anyone who promised a better future. The desperation was palpable, and it made the population susceptible to the promises of radical leaders who claimed to have the answers to Germany's woes. The Weimar Republic, established in 1919, was weak and unstable. It struggled to maintain order and provide effective governance. The political system was fraught with inefficiencies, and the government was often seen as out of touch with the needs and concerns of the people. It was unable to provide the leadership and direction that Germany so desperately needed. Political debates were often inconclusive, and government meetings failed to produce meaningful solutions. The lack of decisive action only deepened the sense of crisis and instability. The political landscape became increasingly fragmented and polarized. Different factions vied for power, each with its own agenda and vision for the future. Political clashes were frequent, and the atmosphere was charged with tension and hostility. Numerous political parties emerged, each with its own vision for Germany's future. The multiplicity of parties made it difficult to achieve consensus, and the political scene became a battleground of competing ideologies and interests. On the left, the communists called for a revolution to overthrow the capitalist system. They saw the economic crisis as an opportunity to implement radical change and establish a new social order. Their rallies and speeches attracted those who were disillusioned with the status quo and eager for a new beginning. On the right, nationalist and anti-Semitic groups blamed Jews and other minorities for Germany's problems. They propagated a narrative of betrayal and scapegoating, which resonated with many who were looking for someone to blame for their suffering. Anti-Semitic propaganda became widespread, further deepening social divisions. Amidst this turmoil, a young and ambitious Adolf Hitler began his rise to power. He capitalized on the widespread discontent and presented himself as the savior who could restore Germany's former glory. His speeches and rallies drew growing crowds, setting the stage for a dramatic and dangerous shift in the nation's future. Adolf Hitler was born in Austria in 1889, in the small town of Braunau am Inn. His early years were spent in a modest household where his father, Alois Hitler, worked as a customs official. Alois was known to be strict and authoritarian, often clashing with young Adolf, who was a sensitive and artistic child. His childhood was marked by poverty and a difficult relationship with his father. Alois had high expectations for his son, hoping he would follow in his footsteps and pursue a career in the civil service. However, Adolf's interests lay elsewhere, particularly in the arts. Hitler was a poor student and dropped out of school at the age of 16. His academic struggles were compounded by the death of his father in 1903, which left the family in financial difficulty. Despite his lack of formal education, Hitler was an avid reader and developed a keen interest in history and politics. He dreamed of becoming an artist but was rejected twice by the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. These rejections were a significant blow to his self-esteem and ambitions. He spent the next few years living a bohemian lifestyle in Vienna, painting and selling postcards to make ends meet. Hitler's time in Vienna proved to be a turning point in his life. The city, with its vibrant cultural scene and diverse population, exposed him to new ideas and perspectives. However, it also deepened his sense of alienation and resentment. He lived in poverty and was exposed to the city's underbelly. The harsh realities of life in Vienna, including the widespread poverty and social inequality, left a lasting impression on him. He often stayed in homeless shelters and soup kitchens, where he encountered many other disenfranchised individuals. Vienna was a melting pot of cultures, and Hitler developed a deep hatred for the city's diverse population. He was particularly hostile towards Jews, whom he blamed for many of society's ills. This period marked the beginning of his radicalization and the development of his anti-Semitic views. He was particularly hostile towards Jews, whom he blamed for many of society's ills. His exposure to anti-Semitic literature and propaganda further fueled his prejudices. He began to see Jews as the root cause of all the problems he perceived in society. During his time in Vienna, Hitler became increasingly interested in politics. He attended political meetings and read extensively on the subject. His views were influenced by the nationalist and anti-Semitic ideologies that were prevalent in Vienna at the time. He was drawn to the ideas of nationalism, anti-Semitism, and pan-Germanism. These ideologies resonated with his own beliefs and experiences. He began to see himself as a savior of the German people, destined to lead them to greatness. He read voraciously, devouring pamphlets and books that espoused these views. His reading included works by prominent nationalist and anti-Semitic writers, which further shaped his worldview. He became convinced that he had a mission to rid Germany of its perceived enemies. Hitler's experiences in Vienna shaped his worldview and set him on the path to becoming the leader of the Nazi Party. His time in the city was a formative period that influenced his later actions and beliefs. It was in Vienna that he developed the ideas that would later form the basis of his political ideology. His early life had instilled in him a deep sense of resentment and a desire for power. The combination of personal failures, economic hardship, and exposure to radical ideologies created a potent mix that fueled his ambitions. His failure to achieve his artistic ambitions left him bitter and disillusioned. He redirected his energies towards politics, where he believed he could make a greater impact. His artistic dreams may have been crushed, but they were replaced by a burning desire to reshape society according to his vision. Vienna, with its social and ethnic tensions, provided fertile ground for his prejudices to take root. The city's complex social fabric and the conflicts he witnessed there played a crucial role in the development of his extremist views. These early experiences in Vienna were instrumental in shaping the man who would later become one of history's most infamous figures. The economic and social turmoil that gripped Germany after World War I was profound and far-reaching. The nation was left in a state of disarray, with its economy shattered and its people struggling to survive. The war had drained Germany of its resources, and the subsequent peace treaty only exacerbated the situation. This created an ideal breeding ground for extremist ideologies like Nazism. The political landscape was chaotic, with numerous factions vying for power and influence. Amidst this chaos, extremist groups found fertile ground to spread their radical ideas. The humiliation of defeat and the harsh conditions imposed by the Treaty of Versailles left many Germans feeling angry and betrayed. The treaty not only stripped Germany of its territories and military power, but also imposed heavy reparations that crippled the economy. They yearned for a return to national glory and sought scapegoats for their misfortunes. Nationalistic fervor grew, and many Germans began to look for someone to blame for their suffering. This sense of betrayal and desire for revenge became a powerful force in German society. Hyperinflation wiped out savings and plunged the middle class into poverty. The value of the German mark plummeted, and people found themselves unable to afford basic necessities. This economic instability further fueled the sense of desperation and hopelessness. Mass unemployment fueled a sense of desperation and hopelessness, making radical solutions increasingly appealing. With millions out of work, the social fabric of the nation began to unravel. People were willing to listen to anyone who promised a way out of their dire situation. Traditional political parties seemed unable to offer effective solutions, further eroding public trust in the existing order. The Weimar Republic was seen as weak and ineffective, unable to address the pressing issues facing the nation. This lack of confidence in the government created a vacuum that extremist groups were eager to fill. In this climate of uncertainty and fear, extremist groups, including the fledgling Nazi Party, found a receptive audience for their message of hate and resentment. They promised strong leadership and a return to national greatness, appealing to those who felt abandoned by the current system. They exploited economic anxieties, preyed on national pride, and skillfully channeled public anger towards scapegoats like Jews and communists. By identifying clear enemies, they provided simple answers to complex problems which resonated with a populace desperate for change. Hitler's own experiences of poverty and social alienation in Vienna resonated with the anxieties of many Germans. His personal story of struggle and his ability to articulate the frustrations of the masses made him a compelling figure. He offered a seductive, albeit dangerous vision of a powerful and racially pure Germany that would reclaim its rightful place in the world. This vision, combined with his charismatic oratory, drew many to his cause, setting the stage for the rise of one of history's most infamous regimes. In 1919, Hitler joined a small and obscure political party called the German Workers' Party. This party shared his extreme nationalist and anti-Semitic views. Hitler quickly rose through the ranks, becoming its leader in 1921. He proved to be a charismatic and effective speaker, captivating audiences with his fiery rhetoric. Under Hitler's leadership, the party changed its name to the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party for short. He adopted the swastika as the party symbol and created a paramilitary organization called the Sturmabteilung, or SA. The SA, also known as brown shirts, were used to intimidate opponents and disrupt political meetings. The Nazi Party initially remained a fringe group with limited appeal. However, the party's fortunes changed dramatically after the Wall Street crash of 1929. The crash triggered a global economic depression, hitting Germany particularly hard. Millions were thrown out of work, and support for the Nazis surged. People were desperate for change, and saw Hitler as a strong leader who could restore Germany to greatness. The year was 1918. World War I was finally over. Germany was on the losing side. They signed a treaty called the Treaty of Versailles, which blamed Germany for the war. Germany had to pay a lot of money and give up land. Their military was also limited. This made the German people angry and ashamed. They felt like their leaders had betrayed them. The country was in chaos, with different groups fighting for control. In 1919, they tried to start a democracy called the Weimar Republic, but it was weak from the beginning. The government had many problems, especially with the economy and extreme political groups. People wanted a strong leader who could bring back Germany's pride. They didn't know that a dangerous man, Adolf Hitler, would soon appear. In the 1920s, Germany started to recover. But then, the Wall Street crash of 1929 happened, and the whole world went into a Great Depression. Germany was hit very hard. Many people lost their jobs and their savings. Money became worthless. People were starving and desperate. This economic crisis made people lose faith in the Weimar Republic. They wanted a solution, any solution. Extreme political parties both on the left and the right became popular. The Nazis, led by Hitler, took advantage of this. They offered simple answers to complicated problems. They blamed the Jews, communists, and other groups for Germany's problems. Many Germans started to believe them. The Nazi Party started in 1920. At first it was a small group with little power. Hitler joined in 1921 and quickly became a leader. He was a captivating speaker who appealed to people's emotions. His speeches were full of nationalistic ideas. He promised to make Germany great again and blamed the Jews and minorities for their problems. The Nazi Party slowly became more popular in the 1920s. The Great Depression gave them a huge opportunity. They promised jobs, food, and a return to Germany's former glory. This message resonated with people who were unemployed, hopeless, and felt betrayed by the government. The Nazis also used violence and intimidation against their opponents. Their paramilitary group, the SA, scared people and spread fear. By 1932, the Nazi Party was the biggest party in the Reichstag, Germany's parliament. This rise to power was not sudden, but the result of years of strategic planning, propaganda, and exploitation of the economic and political instability that plagued Germany after World War I. The Nazis promised to restore Germany to its former glory, a message that resonated with many Germans who were disillusioned with the current state of affairs. In January 1933, President Paul von Hindenburg appointed Hitler as Chancellor of Germany. Hitler quickly took control. This appointment was a pivotal moment in history, as it marked the beginning of the end for the Weimar Republic and the start of a totalitarian regime. Hitler wasted no time in consolidating his power, using both legal and illegal means to eliminate his political opponents and secure his position. When the Reichstag building burned down in a suspicious fire, he used it as an excuse to take away people's freedoms. The Reichstag fire decree allowed him to arrest communists and other political adversaries, effectively silencing any opposition. This event was a turning point that enabled Hitler to push through his radical agenda with little resistance. The Enabling Act of 1933 gave Hitler absolute power. This act allowed him to enact laws without the involvement of the Reichstag, effectively rendering the parliament obsolete. With this newfound authority, Hitler began to reshape Germany according to his vision, dismantling democratic institutions and replacing them with mechanisms of total control. He banned all other political parties and created a totalitarian state. The Nazi regime used propaganda to manipulate public opinion and maintain control over the populace. Political dissent was not tolerated, and those who opposed the regime were swiftly dealt with, often through imprisonment or worse. With no one to oppose him, Hitler was free to do whatever he wanted. He used his charismatic oratory skills to rally the masses, promising a new era of prosperity and national pride. His speeches were designed to evoke strong emotions, often playing on fears and prejudices to unite the German people under his rule. He turned Germany into a one-party state and removed anyone he thought was disloyal from the government, courts, and military. This purge extended to all levels of society, ensuring that only those loyal to Hitler and the Nazi ideology held positions of power. This created an atmosphere of fear and obedience as people were afraid to speak out against the regime. He created concentration camps to imprison his enemies. These camps were initially used to detain political prisoners, but they soon expanded to include Jews, Romani people, and other groups deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime. The conditions in these camps were horrific, and many prisoners did not survive. He started secretly building up the military, breaking the Treaty of Versailles. This rearmament was a clear violation of the treaty, but it went largely unchallenged by other nations at the time. Hitler's military buildup was part of his broader plan to expand German territory and establish a dominant position in Europe. Germany was now under Hitler's control, and the world was on the brink of war. The aggressive policies and actions of the Nazi regime set the stage for the outbreak of World War II, a conflict that would have devastating consequences for millions of people around the globe. Joseph Goebbels was a master of propaganda. He became the Minister of Propaganda and Public Enlightenment in 1933. Goebbels knew how powerful the media could be. He used radio, movies, newspapers, and posters to spread the Nazi message. He controlled everything people saw and heard and censored anything that didn't agree with Nazi beliefs. Goebbels' propaganda was very effective. It portrayed Hitler as a savior who would rescue Germany. It praised the Nazi Party and its ideas and made Jews, communists, and other groups look bad. This created an atmosphere of fear and hatred. Germans were constantly bombarded with Nazi propaganda. They were told that their country was surrounded by enemies, that they were the superior race, and that they had the right to rule over others. The Nazi regime was built on terror and violence. From the very beginning, the Nazis used fear as a tool to control the population and eliminate any form of dissent. Their rise to power was marked by a series of brutal actions aimed at consolidating their grip on Germany. The Gestapo, their secret police, ruthlessly eliminated any opposition. They operated with almost complete autonomy, arresting, torturing, and executing those who were seen as threats to the Nazi ideology. The mere mention of the Gestapo was enough to instill fear in the hearts of the people. Concentration camps like Dachau and Buchenwald were built to imprison anyone the Nazis didn't like, political opponents, intellectuals, and anyone who dared to speak out against the regime. These camps quickly became places of unimaginable suffering and death. Jews, Roma people, and other minorities were targeted with relentless persecution. The Nazis viewed these groups as inferior and sought to eradicate them from society. Homosexuals, people with disabilities, and others who did not fit the Nazi ideal were also persecuted. The regime's goal was to create a pure Aryan race, and anyone who did not conform to this vision was at risk. The Holocaust, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews, was the most horrific result of Nazi ideology. This genocide was meticulously planned and executed with the aim of completely annihilating the Jewish population in Europe. The persecution of Jews started slowly, with discrimination and violence. Anti-Semitic laws were enacted and Jews were increasingly marginalized and dehumanized. Jews lost their citizenship and were banned from certain jobs. They were forced to wear identifying badges and were subjected to constant harassment and violence. People refused to buy from their businesses. Jewish shops were boycotted and their owners were left with no means of livelihood. Then, on Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass in November 1938, Jewish businesses and synagogues were attacked. This pogrom marked a significant escalation in the Nazi campaign against the Jews. Thousands of Jews were arrested and sent to concentration camps. Families were torn apart, and many never saw their loved ones again. The Holocaust was a carefully planned and executed genocide. The Nazis devised the final solution, a plan to exterminate the Jewish people through mass murder. Jews were rounded up and sent to extermination camps like Auschwitz-Birkenau and Treblinka. These camps were designed for efficient mass killing. They were gassed, shot, or worked to death. The scale of the atrocities committed during the Holocaust is almost beyond comprehension, and it remains one of the darkest chapters in human history. Hitler wanted Lebensraum, or living space, for the German people. He believed Germany had the right to take land in the east. He first took over Austria in 1938. Then he demanded the Sudetenland, a part of Czechoslovakia where many Germans lived. The Munich Agreement, signed by Germany, Britain, France and Italy, gave the Sudetenland to Germany. They hoped this would prevent a war, but it only made Hitler want more. In March 1939, Germany invaded and occupied the rest of Czechoslovakia. Britain and France finally realized that appeasement had failed. They promised to protect Poland. But Hitler, undeterred, made a deal with the Soviet Union in August 1939. Secretly, they agreed to divide Eastern Europe between themselves. On September 1, 1939, Germany invaded Poland, starting World War II. Hitler's rise to power and the horrors of the Holocaust show us the dangers of unchecked hatred, extreme nationalism, and totalitarian regimes. The Nazi ideology, rooted in racism and anti-Semitism, led to the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews and millions of others deemed undesirable. This dark chapter in history serves as a stark reminder of what can happen when humanity loses its moral compass. The world watched in horror as Hitler's war machine plunged Europe into darkness. Cities were reduced to rubble and countless lives were lost in the relentless pursuit of power. The devastation was not limited to the battlefield. Civilians suffered immensely, with families torn apart and entire communities obliterated. It took the combined might of the Allied forces to defeat Nazi Germany, but the cost of victory was immense. Brave soldiers from around the world fought valiantly, facing unimaginable horrors to bring an end to the tyranny. The liberation of concentration camps revealed the full extent of the atrocities committed, shocking the world and solidifying the resolve to ensure such evil would never rise again. Millions were dead, and the world was scarred. The physical and emotional wounds ran deep, with survivors bearing the weight of their experiences for the rest of their lives. The aftermath of the war left a landscape of destruction and a profound sense of loss that would take generations to heal. We must never forget the lessons of this dark time in history. The Nuremberg trials brought some measure of justice, holding key perpetrators accountable for their crimes. Yet the true justice lies in remembrance and education, ensuring that future generations understand the gravity of these events. We must always defend democracy and human rights. The establishment of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights were steps towards a more just and peaceful world. These institutions and documents serve as a foundation for protecting the dignity and rights of all individuals, regardless of their background. We must challenge intolerance and discrimination whenever we see it. Racism, xenophobia, and other forms of bigotry have no place in our society. By standing up against these injustices, we honor the memory of those who suffered and ensure a more inclusive and equitable world for future generations. We must remember the victims of the Holocaust and fight against anti-Semitism and all forms of prejudice. The symbols of this dark period, such as the yellow stars and the gates of Auschwitz, serve as powerful reminders of the consequences of hatred. By keeping their memory alive, we commit to combating prejudice in all its forms. We must learn from the past to build a better future. Education is key to preventing history from repeating itself. By teaching the next generation about the Holocaust and the dangers of hatred, we equip them with the knowledge and empathy needed to create a more compassionate world. The words "never again" must be more than a slogan. They must be a commitment to action, a pledge to uphold the values of justice, equality, and human dignity. Every remembrance ceremony, every memorial event, is a call to renew this commitment. They must be a call to action. We must actively work to prevent the rise of hatred and intolerance in our communities. By engaging in dialogue, supporting human rights initiatives, and standing in solidarity with those who are marginalized, we can make a difference. We must all work together to make sure such atrocities never happen again. It is a collective responsibility that requires vigilance, education, and a commitment to the principles of humanity. Only by uniting in this cause can we hope to build a future free from the shadows of the past.
The alarm clock screams. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. Another day, another chance to make a difference. For a firefighter, the day begins long before the sirens wail. It starts with discipline, a routine etched into muscle memory. Boots are laced up tight, each tug a promise of readiness. The fire-resistant suit, a second skin, is donned with care. Every piece of equipment is inspected: helmets, gloves, oxygen masks. Lives depend on their functionality. There's no room for error. Each firefighter meticulously checks their gear. They know that a single malfunction could mean disaster. The firehouse comes alive with the clatter of equipment and the camaraderie of shared purpose. Maps are studied, potential hazards discussed. The weight of responsibility hangs heavy, but it's a weight these brave men and women carry with pride. They are the guardians of our communities, ready to face any danger. Before the day's first call, there's a moment of quiet reflection, a deep breath, a silent prayer for strength and safety. For within these walls, courage is forged, and brotherhood is unbreakable. When the alarm sounds, they'll be ready. They always are. The alarm erupts, shattering the calm. Adrenaline surges. Every second counts. The fire station, once a place of relative tranquility, is now a hive of activity. The firefighters, who were moments ago engaged in routine tasks or perhaps even resting, are now propelled into action by the blaring alarm. It's a call to arms, a signal that somewhere, someone is in desperate need of their help. The firefighters spring into action, a well-oiled machine responding to the call of duty. Each firefighter knows their role and they execute it with precision. The gear is donned in seconds, helmets strapped and boots laced. They move with a sense of urgency, yet there is no panic, only a focused determination. The fire engine, a symbol of hope and rescue, stands ready to transport them to the scene. The fire engine roars to life, its lights painting the streets red and blue. As it speeds through the city, cars pull aside, pedestrians stop and stare. The sirens, a piercing cry, announce their mission. The firefighters inside are mentally preparing, running through protocols and steeling themselves for the battle ahead. Inside the inferno, the air is thick with smoke. It's a hostile environment where every breath is a struggle. The smoke is not just a visual barrier, it's a toxic cloud that can disorient and incapacitate. The firefighters must rely on their training and equipment to navigate through this perilous landscape. It's a suffocating blanket, obscuring vision and stealing breath. The firefighters push through, their masks providing precious oxygen. They communicate through hand signals and shouts, their voices muffled by the roar of the flames and the crackling of burning materials. Flames dance with a deadly beauty, consuming everything in their path. The fire is a living entity, unpredictable and relentless. It devours wood, metal, and anything else in its way, leaving behind a trail of destruction. The firefighters must respect its power while fighting to subdue it. The heat is ferocious, a physical force pushing back against the firefighters' advance. It's like standing in front of an open furnace, the intense heat searing their skin even through protective gear. Yet they press on, driven by the knowledge that lives depend on their courage and tenacity. Yet they push forward, their training kicking in. Every step is a testament to their bravery and commitment. They move with purpose, each action deliberate and calculated. The training drills, the countless hours of preparation all come into play as they face the real thing. Hoses are unfurled, water blasting into the heart of the blaze. The water is their weapon, a powerful stream aimed at quelling the flames. It hisses and steams as it makes contact, a small victory in the larger battle. The firefighters work in unison, each one playing a crucial role in the operation. Each movement is precise, calculated. There is no room for error in this high-stakes environment. The firefighters must be both quick and careful, balancing speed with safety. Their actions are a choreographed dance, each step bringing them closer to their goal. They are warriors battling an unforgiving enemy. The fire is merciless, but so are they. Clad in their protective gear, they resemble modern-day knights armed with hoses and axes instead of swords and shields. Their mission is clear: to save lives and property, no matter the cost. The roar of the fire is deafening, a symphony of destruction. It's a sound that can instill fear, but also a reminder of the stakes. The firefighters are acutely aware of the danger, but they are also focused on their task. The noise fades into the background as they concentrate on the job at hand. But amidst the chaos, there's a sense of purpose, a shared determination to conquer the inferno. Each firefighter knows that they are part of something bigger, a team effort that requires trust and cooperation. They rely on each other, knowing that their collective strength is what will see them through. These brave men and women stare down fear and danger. They confront the flames head-on, undeterred by the risks. Their courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. They channel their fear into action, using it to fuel their resolve. They are the shield between devastation and safety. Their presence is a barrier that stands between the fire and the community they serve. They are the last line of defense, the ones who run towards danger when everyone else is running away.
The first time I faced a wildfire, I was terrified. The sheer scale of it was overwhelming. The flames stretched as far as the eye could see, and the heat was like nothing I'd ever felt before. It was a wall of fire, an unstoppable force that seemed to consume everything in its path. But I also felt an overwhelming sense of pride. I was part of a team, a group of individuals who had come together to fight this beast. We were there to protect our community, to save lives and property. That sense of purpose gave me the strength to push through my fear. We were there to protect our community, and that made all the difference. Knowing that our actions could save lives and homes gave us the motivation to keep going, no matter how tough it got. We were not just fighting a fire. We were defending our neighbors, our friends, our families. The heat, the smoke, the flames. It was like nothing I had ever experienced. It was a trial by fire, both literally and figuratively. But it was also a moment of clarity, a realization of what it truly means to be a firefighter. It's not just a job, it's a calling, a commitment to serve and protect. But we pushed forward together as a team. Our strength came from our unity, our ability to work together under extreme pressure. Each of us played a vital role, and together, we were able to achieve what none of us could have done alone. It was a powerful reminder of the importance of teamwork and trust. And in that moment, I knew I had found my calling. The fire, the heat, the danger, it was all worth it. I was where I was meant to be, doing what I was meant to do. It was a moment of profound realization, a confirmation that I had chosen the right path. Being a firefighter is not just about fighting fires. It's about making a difference, about being there when it matters most.
Firefighting is not a solitary endeavor. It requires a collective effort, a unified front to tackle the unpredictable and often dangerous nature of fires. Each firefighter brings their unique skills and strengths to the table, creating a formidable team ready to face any challenge. It's a symphony of coordination, a delicate dance of trust and reliance. Every movement is calculated, every action is deliberate. The harmony between team members is what makes the difference between chaos and control. Every firefighter is a vital cog in the machine, working in perfect sync with their team. Their roles are clearly defined and their responsibilities are understood. This precision is what allows them to operate efficiently under immense pressure. Communication is key, with clear commands cutting through the chaos. Whether it's through radios or shouted orders, every message must be heard and understood. Miscommunication can lead to disaster, so clarity is paramount. One team attacks the blaze while another searches for trapped victims. This division of labor ensures that all aspects of the crisis are addressed simultaneously. The rescuers trust that the fire attackers will keep the flames at bay, while the attackers rely on the rescuers to save lives. Each member knows their role, their every action dependent on the firefighter beside them. This interdependence creates a bond of trust that is unbreakable. They train together, they fight together, and they succeed together. The hose line becomes a lifeline, guiding them through the smoke-filled labyrinth. In the thick of the smoke, visibility is almost zero, and the hose is their only guide. It connects them to safety and to each other. There's a silent language spoken in the midst of the inferno, a shared understanding forged in the heat of battle. This non-verbal communication is crucial when words are drowned out by the roar of the flames. A nod, a gesture, a look in the eye, all speak volumes when words fail. These small signals can convey complex messages, ensuring that everyone is on the same page. They are a team, a family, bound by their commitment to protecting their community. This sense of unity is what drives them to put their lives on the line every day. They know that they can rely on each other no matter what. And when the flames are finally extinguished and the smoke begins to clear, there's a shared sense of accomplishment. They did it again. They faced the danger head-on and emerged victorious, knowing that their teamwork made it possible. They faced the inferno together and they emerged victorious. This victory is not just over the fire, but over the fear and uncertainty that comes with it. It's a testament to their strength and resilience.
Every fire is different, but the one constant is our teamwork. No matter the size or intensity of the blaze, we approach it with the same level of coordination and trust. This consistency is what allows us to adapt to any situation. We rely on each other completely. This reliance is not just professional, but personal. We know that our lives are in each other's hands, and that creates a bond that is hard to describe. It's a bond that's hard to describe, but it's what makes us strong. This strength is what allows us to face the most daunting challenges and come out on top. It's what makes us a team. When you're in the thick of it, you know that your brothers and sisters have your back. This knowledge gives us the courage to push forward, no matter how dire the situation, and that's what gets us through every single time. It's the unwavering support of our team that allows us to face the flames and come out victorious. Together, we are unstoppable.
The physical demands of firefighting are immense. Every day, firefighters put their bodies through grueling conditions that most people can't even imagine. From the moment they suit up, the weight of their gear alone is a challenge. The heavy boots, the thick protective clothing, the helmet and the oxygen tank, all of it adds up to a significant burden. It's a relentless assault on the body, a constant test of endurance and strength. The heat from the flames is unbearable, often reaching temperatures that can cause severe burns even through their protective gear. The physical exertion required to battle these blazes is immense, pushing their bodies to the brink of collapse, pushing it to its absolute limits. The heavy gear, the searing heat, the constant exertion all take their toll. Muscles scream in protest, lungs burn with exhaustion. Every breath is a struggle, every movement a test of willpower, yet they push through. Driven by a sense of duty and the knowledge that lives depend on their actions, yet they keep going, refusing to give in to the pain and fatigue. Their determination is unwavering, their resolve unbreakable. They know that every second counts and they can't afford to slow down or take a break. Driven by an unwavering sense of duty. They are the first line of defense in the face of disaster, the ones who run towards danger when everyone else is running away. Their bravery is unmatched, their commitment to saving lives and protecting property is absolute. But the true weight of firefighting is often hidden from view. It's the emotional burden, the psychological toll that takes a heavy toll on their mental health. The memories of the tragedies they witness, the lives lost and the devastation left behind. These are the scars that linger long after the flames are extinguished. The memories that linger long after the flames are extinguished. They witness tragedy firsthand, seeing the worst moments of people's lives, the cries for help, the faces of those they couldn't save. These images are etched into their minds, haunting them long after the fire is out. The fragility of life laid bare. They see the devastation left in the fire's wake, the homes reduced to ashes, the lives shattered in an instant. It's a stark reminder of how quickly everything can change, how fragile life truly is. They see the devastation left in the fire's wake, the shattered lives and broken dreams. The aftermath of a fire is a scene of utter destruction, a testament to the power of the flames and the vulnerability of those caught in their path. The shattered lives and broken dreams, families left with nothing, their homes and possessions gone in an instant. The emotional toll of witnessing such loss is immense, and it weighs heavily on the hearts of those who serve. Post-traumatic stress disorder is an invisible wound, a constant companion for many firefighters. The nightmares, the flashbacks, the overwhelming anxiety, these are the scars that run deep. The mental health struggles are real and often go unnoticed, but they are a significant part of the job, a constant companion for many firefighters. The nightmares, the flashbacks, the overwhelming anxiety, these are the scars that run deep. The mental health struggles are real and often go unnoticed, but they are a significant part of the job. The weight of these experiences can be crushing, but they find ways to cope and continue their mission. These are the scars that run deep, yet they persevere, finding solace in the camaraderie of their fellow firefighters. The bond they share is unbreakable, forged in the heat of battle and strengthened by the shared experiences of their profession. Finding solace in the camaraderie of their fellow firefighters, they lean on each other for support, knowing that they are not alone in their struggles. The brotherhood and sisterhood of the fire service is a source of strength and comfort, a reminder that they are part of something bigger than themselves. They are the silent guardians of our communities, carrying the weight of courage on their shoulders. They deserve our respect, our admiration, and our unwavering support. Their sacrifices often go unnoticed, but they are the ones who keep us safe, who stand ready to respond at a moment's notice. Carrying the weight of courage on their shoulders, they deserve our respect, our admiration, and our unwavering support. Their sacrifices often go unnoticed, but they are the ones who keep us safe, who stand ready to respond at a moment's notice. They are the heroes among us, and we owe them a debt of gratitude.
The physical strain is something you get used to, but it never really gets easier. You learn to push through the pain, to keep going even when your body is screaming for you to stop. The training helps, but nothing can truly prepare you for the reality of the job. But the emotional toll, that's something else. The things we see, the lives we can't save, it stays with you. The faces of those we've lost, the families left behind, these are the memories that haunt us, that keep us up at night. The lives we can't save, it stays with you. But we lean on each other, and that makes all the difference. The support of our fellow firefighters is what gets us through the tough times, what helps us keep going when it feels like we can't take another step. It stays with you. But we lean on each other, and that makes all the difference. It's a tough job, but knowing that we're making a difference, that keeps us going. The sense of purpose, the knowledge that we're helping people, that's what drives us, what keeps us coming back day after day. And that makes all the difference. It's a tough job, but knowing that we're making a difference, that keeps us going. The sense of purpose, the knowledge that we're helping people, that's what drives us, what keeps us coming back day after day. The gratitude of those we've helped, the smiles on their faces, that's what makes it all worth it. But knowing that we're making a difference, that keeps us going. The sense of purpose, the knowledge that we're helping people, that's what drives us, what keeps us coming back day after day. The gratitude of those we've helped, the smiles on their faces, that's what makes it all worth it.
Having a loved one in this line of work is both a source of pride and constant worry. We know the risks they face, the dangers they encounter every day. It's a heavy burden to bear, but we also know the importance of their work, the lives they save, and constant worry. We know the risks they face and we see the toll it takes, but we also see their courage, their dedication. It's a heavy burden, but it's one they carry with incredible strength. The pride we feel for them is immense, but so is the fear for their safety. And we see the toll it takes, but we also see their courage, their dedication. It's a heavy burden, but it's one they carry with incredible strength. The pride we feel for them is immense, but so is the fear for their safety. We support them in every way we can, knowing that they are out there making a difference, their dedication. It's a heavy burden, but it's one they carry with incredible strength. The pride we feel for them is immense, but so is the fear for their safety. We support them in every way we can, knowing that they are out there making a difference. Their bravery inspires us, their commitment humbles us. But it's one they carry with incredible strength. And we support them every step of the way. We stand by them, proud of their courage and grateful for their service. They are our heroes, and we are their biggest supporters. And we support them every step of the way. We stand by them, proud of their courage and grateful for their service. They are our heroes, and we are their biggest supporters. Together, we face the challenges, and together we celebrate the victories.
What drives a person to kill? Not once, not twice, but again and again? A question that has haunted humanity for centuries. Are they born with an innate predisposition for violence, or are they products of their environment, molded by a cruel world? Tonight, we embark on a journey into the abyss, peering into the chilling world of serial killers. These predators, who stalk our nightmares and lurk in the shadows, remain one of the most perplexing enigmas of our time. We will dissect their methods, attempting to unravel the intricate tapestry of their psyche and uncover the terrifying truth behind their heinous crimes. Join us if you dare, as we delve into the darkest recesses of the human mind, seeking to comprehend the incomprehensible. Stay with us till the end as we reveal the dark psychology behind serial killers and the shocking truth about what makes them tick. To embark on this journey into the heart of darkness, we must first define the predator. The FBI classifies a serial killer as an individual who commits at least 3 murders, separated by periods of apparent normalcy. Serial killers are often characterized by their chilling meticulousness. They plan meticulously, their actions dictated by a calculated logic. Some stalk their victims for weeks, studying their habits. Their actions are calculated maneuvers in a macabre game. These individuals often adhere to a distinct pattern, a macabre signature. The method of killing, the type of victim, the location, all contribute to a pattern. Each kill serves a perverse need, a dark desire. For some, it is the intoxicating allure of power and control. For others, it is a grotesque form of pleasure, a dark manifestation of their sexuality. The specter of the serial killer has haunted the human psyche for centuries, woven into our collective nightmares. These predators are not a product of modern society but a darkness that has stalked humanity since time immemorial. From Jack the Ripper's legacy to the Zodiac Killer's cryptic messages, these figures captivate us. Their stories, passed down through rumors and headlines, remind us of the darkness lurking beneath ordinary facades. The question of what transforms a seemingly ordinary human being into a cold-blooded killer has perplexed criminologists, psychologists, and sociologists for decades. Is it a matter of nature, a predetermined path etched into the very fabric of their DNA? Or are they molded by the cruel hand of nurture, their souls twisted and warped by the trauma they experienced in their formative years? Some researchers point to genetic predispositions, arguing that certain individuals are born with a greater propensity for violence and aggression. Studies have shown that abnormalities in brain structure and function, particularly in areas associated with impulse control and empathy, may play a role in the development of violent behavior. Others argue that while genetics may lay the foundation, it is the environment that ultimately determines whether or not an individual will tread the path of a killer. Childhood trauma, particularly severe and prolonged abuse, neglect, and exposure to violence, can leave indelible scars on a young mind. Chapter 4. Inside the Labyrinth, the Mind of the Killer. To comprehend the enigma of the serial killer, we must venture into their minds. One typology divides serial killers into organized and disorganized. The organized killer plans meticulously and blends into society. Ted Bundy exemplifies this type. The disorganized killer acts on impulse and leaves evidence. Richard Chase is a chilling example. Chapter 5. The Why of the Why. What motivates a serial killer? The question that has haunted investigators, psychologists, and the public alike is deceptively simple, yet maddeningly elusive. Why? What drives a human being to commit such horrific acts of violence, not once but repeatedly, often with chilling premeditation? The motivations behind serial killing are as varied and complex as the individuals who commit them. For some, the driving force is a lust for power and control. They derive a perverse sense of satisfaction from dominating their victims, from holding the power of life and death in their hands. The BTK killer, who terrorized Wichita for decades, reveled in the fear and control he exerted over his victims and the city at large. Others are driven by a twisted sense of sexual gratification. For these individuals, killing becomes intertwined with their sexuality, a dark and disturbing manifestation of their desires. Ted Bundy, who preyed on young women who resembled his college sweetheart, is a chilling example of this type of killer. Chapter 6. In the Wake of Terror, Law Enforcement and Society's Response. As the body count rises and fear grips the community, the pressure on law enforcement to catch these elusive predators intensifies. The hunt for a serial killer is a race against time, a desperate scramble to connect the dots, decipher the patterns, and bring these individuals to justice before they can claim another victim. But tracking down a phantom is no easy task. Serial killers often blend seamlessly into society, their true nature concealed beneath a veneer of normalcy. Forensic science plays a crucial role in the pursuit of justice. From analyzing DNA evidence to identifying fibers and trace materials, forensic investigators work tirelessly to piece together the puzzle of the killer's movements and methods. Profiling, a controversial yet often invaluable tool, allows investigators to delve into the mind of the killer. By analyzing the crime scene, the victim selection, and the method of killing, profilers attempt to create a psychological portrait of the perpetrator. Outro: The study of serial killers is not for the faint of heart. It is a journey into the darkest recesses of the human soul, a confrontation with the unsettling reality that such monsters walk among us. But it is a journey we must undertake not to glorify their deeds but to understand them. For only by comprehending the darkness can we hope to protect the innocent from its grasp. If you found this exploration of the criminal mind as fascinating as it is disturbing, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode of The Untold Story.